Investigators say that the attacks happened right inside this home on Fairlamb Avenue. And while one person was murdered and two were severely beaten, neighbors say they didn't hear a sound. It's unusual for a two-legged Chihuahua and a fluffy chicken to become best friends, but these aren't your ordinary pets. That sand volleyball team got lucky today with this beautiful warm weather here in Columbia. It's around 70 degrees and it happens to be the first day of spring. Some bars are still saying no by putting this sign outside. The Lady Gamecocks are 24-2 and will face Florida in a home game at 1 p.m. on Sunday. After 3 long days of snow and ice, people are finally able to get out of their house and enjoy this beautiful weather. Broken limbs and fallen trees line the sides of I-26 and I-95, but you may not have noticed the hundreds of men working day and night to remove all debris from the roads. Interstate 26 and 95 are two of the most driven highways in South Carolina, with thousands of people driving up and down them every day.
We have almost 500 contract crews that are working in 19 counties across the state right now. And as of yesterday, we've removed about 278,000 cubic yards of debris.
The South Carolina DOT has had workers picking up debris on the highway for 2 weeks now. Worker Randy Hughes says he's been out there every day with chainsaw in hand, cutting down anything that could possibly cause problems for drivers.
We're just cutting back some of the brush till we get the machines in to clean everything up and pick it up, just to make the emergency lane clear so if anybody needs to get off the road.
Cook is the state maintenance engineer for the South Carolina DOT. He says he works with all counties to plan the best ways to keep traffic flowing.
So we actually met this morning and we're revising our traffic control plan. We're going to try to do most of the work just with a shoulder closure only.
While the South Carolina Department of Transportation acknowledges that there will be traffic on the roads during this time, they're trying to accommodate all drivers and workers by working at times where there are less cars on the road.
Certainly we would like to ask the public to try to be patient. I know it's an inconvenience, but we certainly want to make sure we keep everything very safe out there.
And while he can't promise a date, he says crews are working very hard to get the roads cleaned up as soon as possible. Margaret-Ann Carter, Carolina News. The Richland County Sheriff's Department released new information regarding the deadly shooting that took place in East Columbia early Saturday morning. Latino's Bar and Grill is where a supposed prostitute approached a man soliciting sex.
What we believe is that the incident location is where this young lady who presented herself as Mariah, not sure if that's her real name or not, was soliciting this individual, victim. The victim leaves out, so does this suspect, female, along with 3 other male suspects as well.
The woman and 3 other suspects followed the victims to this vacant house on Fairlamb Avenue, where police say they beat 2 men and shot and killed another in an attempted robbery. Sergeant Curtis Wilson with the Richland County Sheriff's Department describes the woman as a tall, light-skinned female, 5'7" to 5'11", 150 pounds, 18 to 22 years old, with a tattoo on her upper chest.
But again, what we'd like to know is if anyone knows anything about this incident, if they heard about it, if they were there and saw anything.
Investigators say that the attacks happened right inside this home on Fairlamb Avenue. And while one person was murdered and 2 were severely beaten, neighbors say they didn't hear a sound.
Absolutely nothing. That's what boggles me.
Regina Thomas lives directly next door to where the murder took place and says her neighborhood is usually quiet and uneventful.
I'm not scared, but I'm concerned that nobody heard or nobody was aware with the commotion, 6 people out there fighting and shooting, and none of the neighbors seem to have heard anything.
Other neighbors did not want to be on camera, but say they're on guard and hope an arrest is made soon so their neighborhood can return to normal. Margaret-Ann Carter, Carolina News. Samantha Sheely and Zach Weenum live on opposite sides of Columbia and have never met, but they share one thing in common. They were both victims of a spring break break-in.
This time last year, it was about 3 days before I was going on my spring break trip.
2 men broke into the back of our house. They went around to the back in our backyard and shattered out our half-bath window.
There's blood all over my carpet. They stole a gun, I guess some money, an Xbox.
And luckily, our neighbor was in town and he heard it shatter. And so he was able to run outside and he was screaming, making lots of noise. And fortunately, they actually jumped back out and ran.
Samantha says even though nothing was taken, she still checks the locks on her doors and windows every night.
It took me a while to feel safe. It's just a really unnerving feeling knowing that there was an intruder in your home.
But Zach wasn't so lucky. So you never got anything back?
Nah.
Deputy Misty Puckett with the Richland County Sheriff's Department recommends that all residents leaving town should make sure their doors are locked and double check windows to make sure they're locked as well.
A lot of times people know that spring breakers are out of town, so they know that their home apartment is vacant.
Deputy Puckett says in addition to making sure your home is secure, residents leaving town should set their lights and TVs on a timer in order to set the appearance that someone is home.
Another service that we provide for the residents of Richland County is if they're going out of town, they can be put on a special property checklist in their area. That means deputies will periodically check their residents throughout the day and night.
Zach and Samantha say they've learned their lesson and won't be announcing any spring break plans for this year, and they suggest you do the same. Margaret-Ann Carter, Carolina News.